The scanner beeped 3 times. Not the usual interference pattern, not atmospheric noise. This was a distress beacon, encrypted with enemy frequencies, less than half a click from my station. I should have logged it and moved on. That was protocol. That was survival. That was the only reason I still had this posting after what happened in Sector 7. Instead, I grabbed the emergency kit and went outside. The wreckage was fresh. The reconnaissance vehicle had torn through the perimeter fence and rolled twice before stopping against the rocks. Steam still rose from the cracked coolant lines. I approached slowly, one hand on the sidearm I'd never fired. She was pinned halfway out of the driver's compartment, uniform soaked black with blood, enemy patches on both shoulders. Her eyes were closed, face pale under the dust. The scanner on my belt immediately flagged her biometrics as hostile. I checked for pulse. Weak but present. Every regulation I'd memorized screamed at me to call it in. Let command handle it. Enemy combatant, unconscious, possibly carrying intel. This was textbook. But her hand was clutching something. I pried her fingers open gently. A photograph, creased and faded. 2 children, maybe 6 and 8 years old, smiling at the camera. I dragged her inside. The medical supplies in the station were basic. Field dressings, coagulant foam, broad-spectrum antibiotics. I cleaned the wounds as best I could. The worst one, a deep gash across her ribs. The foam sealed it, but she'd lost a lot of blood. My rations were already running low. Command resupply wasn't due for another 2 weeks. I'd been rationing the MRE packs, 1 every day and a half to stretch them. I opened one of the silver packages, the emergency reserve I'd been saving, and carefully dripped water between her lips. She didn't wake. I'm Marcus, by the way. Communications technician, 5th grade, currently serving disciplinary isolation at Observation Post Theta 9. 9 months into a 12-month sentence for insubordination. I'd questioned an order in Sector 7, suggested that maybe we should verify civilian evacuation before the airstrike. My commanding officer didn't appreciate the suggestion. 3 months left. 3 months of perfect protocol adherence, and I could request transfer back to active duty. Back to something that mattered. Back to a life that wasn't just static and silence, and the same 4 walls. Hiding an enemy soldier wasn't perfect protocol adherence. I set up the medical monitor anyway, watching her vitals stabilize over the next 6 hours. By nightfall, the fever started. She stayed unconscious for 2 days. On the second night, the delirium began. At first, it was just mumbling, fragments in a language I didn't speak. But then she switched to standard dialect, the words coming in rushed, panicked bursts. Helix index ... 7 days, reverse protocol. They lied about the civilians ... I recorded everything. My hand was shaking as I activated the audio log. This could be valuable intelligence. This could be my redemption. Proof that I'd made the right call, that bringing her in had strategic value. Synaptic transfer. Before the cascade. They're killing their own ... double quotes. The words tumbled out between labored breaths. I tried to make sense of them. Cross-referencing against known enemy code systems, nothing matched. These weren't standard military ciphers. The structure was wrong. Too personal. Too biological. Port 70-7 ... neural marker. I can't let them erase it. ... double quotes. She went quiet after that, sinking back into deeper unconsciousness. I played the recording back 3 times, trying to decrypt meaning from the fragments. My cryptography training was basic at best, but even I could tell this wasn't ordinary intelligence chatter. This was something else. On the 5th day, she opened her eyes. I was checking the perimeter sensors when I heard movement behind me. When I turned, she was sitting up on the cot, back against the wall, one hand pressed to her bandaged ribs. Her eyes were clear, alert, and locked on me. How long? Her voice was hoarse but steady. 5 days. You were badly injured. 5 days? She tried to stand, stumbled, caught herself against the wall. No, that's too long. I only have 7 days total, which means you need to rest. You lost a lot of blood. I don't have time to rest. She looked around the station, taking in the communications equipment, the monitoring stations, my uniform hanging on the back of the chair. You're Republic forces. You should have killed me. I don't kill unconscious people. Then you're a fool. She slid back down to sitting, breathing hard. My name is Kale, and we have 2 days to save both our lives. I pulled up a chair, staying out of arm's reach. Explain. She touched the side of her head, just behind her left ear. Neural implant, military grade, encrypted storage. 7 days from activation before the cascade protocol triggers. After that, the data corrupts and takes my memory with it. What kind of data? The kind that ends wars. She met my eyes. The kind that gets you killed for having it. I glanced at the communications terminal. I can call for medical evacuation. Neural specialists, proper equipment. They'll execute me before the transport lands. And they'll bury what I'm carrying. Her hand dropped to her lap. I deserted, Marcus. I saw what they're hiding, and I ran. Both sides have been hunting me for 3 weeks. How do you know my name? Your uniform. The name tape is on the chair? She nodded toward it. And you talk in your sleep. You've been sleeping in that chair for 5 days, making sure I didn't die. That's more kindness than I've seen 2 years of this war. I didn't know what to say to that. Kale continued. The implant has to be transferred. That's the only way to preserve the data and prevent the cascade. But neural transfer isn't like copying a file. The recipient takes on the donor's biometric signature, identity markers, retinal patterns, even genetic tags. Military scanners will read you as me. That's impossible. It's classified technology, designed for deep cover operatives who need to assume another identity completely. I stole it when I deserted. It's the only way I could keep the information safe. She leaned forward, intensity burning in her eyes. I need you to take it. I need you to carry what I know. Can become a deserter myself. Yes. I stood up, paced to the window. Outside, the wasteland stretched empty in all directions. 9 months I'd been here, thinking about what I'd lost. My career, my purpose, my belief that what we were doing mattered. What's on the implant? I asked. Proof. Documented evidence that both Republic and Coalition forces have been staging false flag attacks on their own civilians, fabricating atrocities to justify continued conflict. The war hasn't been about territory or ideology for 3 years. It's about contracts, Marcus. Weapons manufacturing, reconstruction rights, resource extraction. They're bleeding both populations dry and calling it patriotism. I turned back to face her. That's a heavy accusation. I have the procurement orders, the mission logs, communications between high command on both sides. It's all there, encrypted in my head. She touched her temple, and in 2 days, it disappears forever. Why me? You could have gone to anyone, because you fed me. She pointed at the empty MRE package on the counter. Emergency rations, the kind you save for when everything falls apart. You used yours on an unconscious enemy. That told me everything I needed to know about your character. The weight of it settled on me slowly. Everything I'd believed about my purpose, my duty, the rightness of the cause. All of it hollow. And here was a choice that would confirm every suspicion I'd been punished for voicing. If I do this, I said quietly, there's no going back. No, there isn't. I looked at my hands. Clean hands, technician's hands. Hands that had never fired a weapon in anger, never given an order that cost lives. Hands that had dressed the wounds of an enemy because it was the right thing to do. "Show me the procedure," I said. Kale nodded slowly. "It's going to hurt. The neural mapping has to integrate with your existing patterns. Most people describe it as ... invasive. You'll feel my memories bleeding into yours. Not all of them, but enough to be disorienting." "How long does it take?" 4 hours for full integration. You'll need to be still. Any interruption could cause permanent damage." She pulled herself to her feet and moved to the medical station. From her jacket pocket, she produced a small device, no bigger than a deck of cards. Medical grade, clearly stolen. The interface showed a timer. 43 hours remaining. "Last chance to reconsider," she said. I sat down in the chair. "Do it." She moved behind me, fingers gently probing behind my left ear. "The port will leave a scar. Small, circular. Anyone who knows what to look for will recognize it immediately." I felt the cold press of the device against my skin, then a sharp sting as it penetrated. The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Not physical pain, something deeper, something that bypassed every natural warning system and struck directly at the core of consciousness. Memories flooded in that weren't mine. A classroom, children reciting lessons. The smell of smoke and burning plastic. Orders crackling over comms. Asterisk, fire on Sector 7. No survivors. Asterisk, faces of friends of family, twisted in betrayal when they learned she deserted. The weight of a rifle that had fired on targets she later learned were unarmed civilians, dressed in enemy uniforms by her own commanders. I heard myself screaming. "Don't fight it," Kale's voice, distant and echoing. "Let it flow through. Trying to resist makes it worse." The images kept coming. Procurement forms with 2 signatures, one from each side's procurement office. Identical weapon serial numbers appearing in enemy caches. Communication logs showing coordination between Republic and Coalition generals, agreeing on which cities to sacrifice next. Projections showing profit margins for the next 5 years of sustained conflict. The evidence wasn't scattered. It was meticulous, organized, damning. When it finally stopped, I was on the floor, Kale kneeling beside me. 4 hours had passed in what felt like 4 minutes, or 4 years. Time had lost meaning somewhere in the cascade of stolen memories. "It's done," she said softly. I pulled myself up to sitting. My hands were shaking. I touched behind my left ear and felt the raised edge of new scar tissue, still tender. Kale looked different now. Her face was slack, eyes distant. I don't remember why I'm here. I know you helped me, but I don't know. What was I carrying?" "The truth," I said. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. I stood carefully and moved to the identification scanner by the door, the one I used every morning to log my status report. I pressed my thumb to the pad and waited for the familiar confirmation. The screen flickered. Red text appeared. Asterisk, asterisk, Kale variant Coalition deserter capture alive for interrogation. Asterisk, asterisk. I stared at it for a long moment. That was my name now, according to every military database on the planet. Marcus was gone. Erased, replaced by a ghost I was now wearing. I turned back to Kale. She was watching me with confusion and something that might have been guilt, though she couldn't remember why. "We need to move," I said. "They'll be scanning for your signature, which is now mine." Over the next 2 days, I tried every secure channel I still had access to. Everyone rejected my credentials. The Republic systems flagged me as hostile. The Coalition systems flagged me as a deserter. Both sides wanted me captured. I couldn't go back, couldn't go forward, couldn't even stay still. Kale stayed close, her military instincts intact even if her explicit memories were gone. On the 3rd day, as I was preparing to destroy the station's logs and run, she spoke suddenly. "The journalist," There's a journalist. I don't know why I know this, but ... territory neutral. Off the grid. West, I think. 70 clicks west. It was the only lead we had. We moved at night, using old maintenance roads that didn't appear on current maps. Kale's muscle memory guided us around patrol patterns she couldn't consciously remember. My new biometric signature kept us invisible to Republic scanners, though it also meant Coalition drones tracked us twice before losing our signal in the terrain. 4 days after leaving the station, we reached the neutral zone, a small settlement, nominally independent, practically forgotten. The journalist operated out of a basement office beneath a shuttered medical clinic. He was older than I expected, gray-haired and cautious. He studied us both carefully before speaking. "You're Kale," he said, looking directly at me. I nodded slowly. "She said you'd come. Said I'd know you by the port scar and the look of someone carrying something too heavy to bear alone." He gestured to chairs. "Sit, both of you." "I have data," I said. "Evidence of war crimes. Coordinated by both sides." "I know. Kale contacted me 6 weeks ago. Told me what she'd found. Told me she'd need to transfer it to someone trustworthy because she couldn't survive the journey herself." He looked at the woman beside me. "I'm sorry you lost your memories. That wasn't supposed to happen." "I don't remember the plan," Kale said quietly. "But I remember him feeding me, taking care of me. That felt important." The journalist turned to his computer. "I'll need to verify the data before publication. Neural extraction without the original host is tricky, but I have the equipment. It'll take a few hours." I sat still while he worked, feeling the subtle pull of the interface as it copied everything Kale had died to preserve. Not literally died. She was sitting across the room, alive but empty of the mission that had defined her. But the person she'd been was gone, replaced by someone learning herself anew. When the journalist finally leaned back, his face was pale. This is worse than she described. The coordination goes back 7 years. Both sides have known from the beginning. Every major battle, every civilian casualty, every stirring speech about defending freedom or protecting sovereignty, all theater, orchestrated to maintain indefinite conflict. Can you prove it? I asked. With what you've given me? Yes, absolutely. This ends it. No government can survive this kind of exposure. He reached into his desk and pulled out something wrapped in weathered cloth. He set it on the table between us. I unwrapped it slowly. An MRE pack. Silver packaging, emergency reserve grade. She left this with me, the journalist said. Told me to give it to whoever carried the implant. Said they'd understand what it meant. I picked up the package, feeling its familiar weight. The same weight I'd felt 9 months ago when I opened one for an unconscious enemy. The same weight that had changed everything. Kale had planned this, all of it. She hadn't stumbled near my station by accident. She'd chosen it, chosen me. The distress beacon had been deliberate, a test to see who would respond and how. She'd bet everything on finding someone who would choose compassion over protocol. The debt wasn't hers to me. It never had been. It was mine to everyone still suffering under the lie of necessary war. How long before you can publish? I asked. 2 days to verify sources and set up distributed release. After that, it goes live simultaneously on every independent network. They can't stop at all. I nodded. We'll need somewhere to stay. Somewhere they won't look. Already arranged. There's a safe house on the northern border. No extradition treaties, no military presence. You'll be shadows, but you'll be alive. Kale looked at me. What do we do after, when it's over? We wait, I said. See if truth is enough to stop the bleeding. 3 weeks later, the story broke like a dam failing. Every major city saw protests within hours. Military units refused orders. Coalition and Republic leadership pointed fingers at each other. each confirming the other's guilt in their desperation to deflect. The war didn't end cleanly. Wars never do. But the momentum stopped. Negotiations began. Slowly, grudgingly, the machinery of conflict ground to a halt. I watched it on a cracked screen in the safe house. Kale beside me. She'd started painting, trying to rebuild an identity from scattered instincts and borrowed memories. Sometimes she'd describe a scene, and I'd recognize it as something I'd seen in the neural transfer. Her memories, living in my head, teaching her who she used to be. I touched the scar behind my ear. The port had sealed, but the mark remained permanent, visible to anyone who knew what to look for. Does it hurt? Kale asked. No, not anymore. I remember you feeding me, she said softly. That's the clearest memory I still have. Everything else is fog, but that's sharp. You opened your emergency rations for an enemy. It seemed important at the time. It was. She set down her brush. You're more me than I am now. You carry my mission, my identity, my choices. Does that feel strange? Every day. Good, it should. She smiled slightly. That means you're still you, under everything. Still the person who chose compassion when protocol told him to kill. I looked at the MRA package on the shelf, the one the journalist had given me. Kale's final message, delivered through the one gesture that had defined everything. Maybe that's what peace actually is, I said. Not the absence of war. Just people willing to carry each other's weight when the load gets too heavy to bear alone. Kale leaned against my shoulder. Then we're already living in it. Outside, the first day of permanent ceasefire began. The scanners in the streets no longer searched for enemies. The drones overhead flew reconnaissance for reconstruction instead of targeting. Children played in areas that had been kill zones 48 hours earlier. I was Marcus. I was Kale. I was neither and both. And for the first time in 9 months, I understood what my insubordination in Sector 7 had really meant. Sometimes the right choice doesn't save you, but it might save everyone else.